The only thing separating humanity from a demonic apocalypse is a handful of reckless teenagers who flunked their math exams but ace monster hunting. You think you know what an S-rank threat looks like? You have no idea. If you are new on our channel, kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interesting crime stories. Forget everything you know about normal police work. In a world where demons don't just lurk in the shadows, but steal for $1 billion in gold right out of a city vault, you need a different kind of hero. That's where the Occult Investigations Academy, or the OIA, comes in. This isn't your typical high school. It's the final line of defense, a boot camp for the few humans born with its sight, the ability to see, fight, and track the supernatural criminals among us. Today, we go deep into the first arc of their hardest year yet, hunting a trio of demonic masterminds whose crimes are escalating from simple theft to citywide terror. We're going to follow the OIA's top team, the Shikari Squad, as they tackle their first true B-rank threat, a slippery trickster whose specialty isn't fighting, but making things disappear, and I'm not just talking about car keys. The clock is ticking, and if they mess this up, it's not just their grades that drop, it's half the city's power grid. The air in the Shikari Squad's briefing room felt thick, like old dust and ozone. The 4 members sat around a holographic projection flickering with police crime scene photos. The leader was Ren Okiyama, sharp-eyed, meticulous, and with a supernatural sense for tracking energy signatures. Beside him was Sora Ito, the team's tank, quiet, but whose fists hit harder than a freight train and specialized in defensive talismans. Then there was Kiko Soto, the hacker and information specialist, who could pull up a demon's birth certificate from the dark web in seconds. Finally, Taro Kaji, the wild card. Loud, impulsive, but with the rare gift of beckoing, allowing him to briefly replay the emotional energy left at a crime scene. Their first target, a demon dubbed Glimmer, a B-rank criminal. B-rank demons are nuisances, highly skilled but not existential threats. Glimmer had a thing for luxury. In the last 3 weeks, Glimmer had entered the safes of 3 high-end jewelry stores. No forced entry. No alarms tripped. The only evidence was a faint, metallic smell and a sudden, shared memory lapse by every single witness, security guard, and camera operator in a 5-block radius. "Look at this," Ren said, gesturing to the projection. 3 robberies. Total value, $15 million. The common thread isn't the method, it's the zero residue after the fact. No demonic energy spike, no physical trace, nothing for Sora's barrier talismans to lock onto. It's like the crime happened in a parallel dimension. Kiko typed rapidly on her holographic keyboard. Forensics is calling it the forget-me-not effect. Every person within 100 meters experienced a cognitive blank for exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Their brains logged the time as normal, but the memory, it's just gone. Taro leaned forward, his elbows on the table. He's not just stealing diamonds, he's stealing time from our heads. Smart. For a B rank, he's playing an A rank game. Ren ignored Taro's comment about the ranking. The ranks are often misleading, skill trumps raw power. The memory lapse isn't the primary power, it's the exhaust fume. It's the byproduct of his true skill, hyperspeed chronal displacement. Ren tapped a button, and the hologram switched to a complex, almost poetic equation. Glimmer isn't invisible, he's just moving so fast that the light reflecting off him doesn't have time to hit the retina before he's already passed. The forget-me-not is just his localized temporal weight causing a momentary gap in neural processing. Sora spoke for the first time, her voice low and steady. If he's fast, we need to be faster. Or, more accurately, we need to predict his path. Exactly, Ren agreed. He can't run infinitely. He needs a high-energy source to fuel that kind of sustained speed. Kiko, where's the highest concentration of volatile, non-renewable energy in the city? That's easy, Kiko replied instantly. The ether power grid station downtown. It's a closed-loop system, running on stabilized demonite core. If he siphons that, he could be S-rank fast for a full hour. And if he hits that, Taro muttered, it's not just lights out. The overload could blow the whole district. The Shikari Squad mobilized immediately. Their destination, the ether power grid station. It was a sprawling facility of humming generators and glowing conduits, guarded by high-tech magnetic locks, useless against a demon. Ren positioned Sora at the main nexus. Sora, focus on creating a static barrier. Don't try to contain him. Just make a layer of friction. Something that even a B-rank speedster can't ignore. Kiko was on the surveillance feed, overriding the system. He's here. Movement near Sector Gamma, not visual, but a signature energy drain. He's tapping the main line. Ren charged toward Gamma, but Taro grabbed his arm. Wait! His last victims, they didn't just forget. They were emotionally calm. They felt peace before the blank. Let me echo. Taro closed his eyes, placing his hand on the metal wall. The air around him shimmered. His ability, the echoing, was dangerous. It allowed him to briefly feel the emotional residue of the moment. He saw the blur, the cold calculation, but also boredom. Taro snapped his eyes open. He's not fast. He's everywhere. He can project small, energy-draining decoys that appear to move at super speed to distract. The real Glimmer is sitting still, draining the core like a straw. Ren stopped cold. A decoy, a temporal clone. Kiko, which energy drain is stable and continuous? Not the spiking, erratic one. Kiko's voice was frantic. It's near the reserve core, Sector Delta. The energy draw is smooth, deep, and totally hidden by the noise from the decoys. Ren didn't hesitate. Sora, Delta. Hit him with the friction talisman. Sora, who had been focused on her static barrier, instantly shifted her concentration. She slammed a glowing green talisman against the nearest conduit. A crackle of pure, sticky magical energy erupted, covering the Delta sector in a film that looked like clear, solidified syrup. A figure, dressed in sleek, iridescent silver, materialized instantly as he was ripped out of his hidden state. It was Glimmer. He was beautiful, androgynous, and utterly furious. He was barely visible for a microsecond before he tried to move, but the friction talisman held him fast. Impossible! Glimmer snarled, struggling against the thick, slowing energy. How did you see past the blur? Ren walked up, calm and controlled. You were bored. A speedster like you should be exhilarated. But you were just waiting for your energy to fill up. You're a thief, Glimmer, not a fighter. And thieves get caught. Sora placed the final, powerful containment sigil around him. The B-rank threat was neutralized. The power grid was safe. Glimmer's capture wasn't the end, it was the prologue. 3 days later, the city was rocked by a crime that sent shockwaves through the OIA and the entire human government. This was no simple theft. A major diplomatic summit, key world leaders, CEOs, and their security details was being held in the city's tallest skyscraper, the Celestine Tower. At 10 a.m. sharp, the entire building went silent. All communication cut. When OIA forces finally breached the exterior, they found 50 high-profile hostages, all standing perfectly still, with vacant, glassy eyes. The culprit was Marion, an A-rank demon. A-rank demons are skilled specialists, capable of causing massive localized damage and are often the architects of complex, high-impact crimes. Marion's specialty, psychic command. The only clue was a single, cryptic symbol painted on the CEO's mahogany desk in what Ren immediately identified as an ancient, highly potent psychic toxin. This is bad, Ren breathed, looking at the scene. A-rank means not only can he command, but he can command for sustained periods. We can't just knock out the energy source this time, the damage is already done. Kiko's face was pale as she analyzed the psychic residue. The symbol, it's a binding rune. Marion has placed every single person here under a state of permanent, conscious paralysis. They can see and hear everything, but their body is his puppet. He's not here anymore, but his program is running. Taro ran his hand over the hostages. He tried to echo the moment, but the emotional field was a blinding white-hot static. He didn't just suppress their will, he erased it. I can't find a single flicker of human emotion. Just blankness. He's using them as a threat and a shield. The challenge was unprecedented: track an unseen psychic commander without provoking the volatile puppets. Any sudden move or sound could trigger Marion's failsafe, a command for all 50 hostages to simultaneously jump from the 80th floor. Ren laid out the plan. We need his source. Marion's command is potent, but maintaining that many wills requires a massive, dedicated focus. He will be somewhere nearby, somewhere high, where he can visually oversee the puppets and easily sustain the connection. Kiko got to work, not on electronics, but on ancient demonology texts. A-rank psychic demons are often tied to nexus points, places where ley lines intersect, providing a natural power-up. There are 3 major ley line intersections within a 2-mile radius of the Celestine Tower, and one of them is an abandoned clock tower known for its intense spiritual history. Perfect, Ren confirmed. He'll feel safe there. We hit the clock tower. Sora, this is your zone. We need to cut his connection without the hostages even noticing the link is gone. You need to create a psychostatic shield, a barrier that doesn't block us, but disrupts the signal. Sora nodded, already preparing her most complex talismans, silken strips embroidered with minute, vibrating runic patterns. A full-spectrum disruption. I'll need a 2-minute window to set it. The team moved covertly toward the abandoned grey wall clock tower. It was a crumbling stone edifice, eerily silent, overlooking the bustling city. Ren and Taro took the lead, ascending the dusty, creaking stairs. They found Marion in the main clockworks chamber. He was unnervingly human-looking, with fine clothes and a bored expression, sitting on a high stool, his hand resting lightly on the enormous copper clock mechanism. From his fingertips, faint blue threads of psychic energy stretched out like spider silk, traveling through the very air, across the mile of open space, and straight to the Celestine Tower. Took you long enough, OIA, Marion said, not turning around. B-rank fools are so easy to catch. I expected better from the Shikari Squad. Taro, ever the impulsive one, immediately charged. Let them go, Commander. Commander? Marion chuckled, a cold, dry sound. I prefer artist. And no, I haven't finished my masterpiece yet. Before Taro could land a punch, the copper clock mechanism moved. A dozen giant, razor-sharp clock hands detached and swung violently, aimed straight at Taro. Ren acted instantly, dragging Taro back behind a crumbling pillar. Sora, now! From the entrance, Sora emerged, focusing her power. She slammed the first of her psychostatic talismans onto the floor. The air in the chamber didn't crackle, it simply went silent. The thin, blue psychic threads connecting Marion to the tower began to shimmer and distort, like heat haze. Marion finally turned, his eyes narrowing in genuine surprise. A frequency jammer? Clever girl. But not fast enough. He raised his hand, and the psychic toxin he had used to mark the desk exploded from his palm, forming a blinding, toxic gas cloud. Hostages, awake! Kill the girl! The gas wasn't meant to hurt them, but to serve as a high-powered psychic trigger. In the Celestine Tower, 50 human bodies suddenly stirred, their heads snapping up. Ren knew they had seconds. Taro! The echo! Find the one flicker! Taro closed his eyes, ignoring the stinging toxin. He reached out with his ability, bypassing the blinding static of the command and diving deep into the victims' minds. The emotion was gone, but Marion had made a mistake. He hadn't just used the hostages as puppets, he had forced them to fear him. Taro found it, a sliver of pure, raw terror in the heart of the CEO. He's afraid of heights. Marion, you're afraid of falling. The moment Taro yelled it, Marion flinched. The sophisticated, bored expression shattered, replaced by a flicker of pure panic. That single, half-second distraction was all Sora needed. She threw the last talisman. It hit the wall beside the copper clock, and the room was enveloped in a silent, paralyzing field of null energy. The blue psychic thread snapped like glass. In the Celestine Tower, the 50 hostages stumbled, clutching their heads, the command broken. Marion dropped to his knees, clutching his own head. Impossible, how did you know? You command others, but you can't command your own deeper fears, Ren said, stepping out of the dust cloud. A-rank threat neutralized. The city breathed a massive sigh of relief. The OIA had survived their first A-rank encounter, but the celebration was short-lived. A message was waiting for them back at the academy, a message that wasn't a note, but a crime so audacious it felt like a declaration of war. The next morning, the news was dominated by a single headline: Global Gold Reserve emptied, $4 billion missing. The Grand Vault, an impregnable fortress beneath the city, was supposed to hold the world's emergency gold supply. It was guarded by 3 layers of magical wards, 24 OIA high-level operatives, and walls infused with high-grade antidemonite. Yet, in the dead of night, the vault was emptied. Nothing was destroyed. Nothing was triggered. The guards were found asleep, not paralyzed or hypnotized, but in a deep, peaceful slumber. They woke up with a shared sense of having had a lovely, restful night. The culprit, Phasma, an S-rank demon. S-rank is the highest threat level, the legendary, city-destroying, world-ending class. A creature capable of wielding power on an exponential scale, one whose very presence warps reality. The only sign that anything had happened was a single, tiny, almost invisible scratch on the inner steel wall of the vault, left by a metal object that moved faster than any sensor could register. The scratch wasn't deep, it was just a signature. Ren traced the mark with his finger. He didn't just walk in. He didn't teleport. He didn't drill. He unmade the vault's defenses around himself, took the gold, and then remade the defenses. He didn't beat the system, he bypassed reality itself. Kiko was shaking her head in disbelief. The energy signature is off the charts. It's a pure, unadulterated field of spatial temporal manipulation. We're talking about a demon who can effectively exist in 8 places at once across time and space. That scratch, it's a fluke, a tiny mistake because he miscalculated the spatial coordinates by a single micron. Taro was quieter than usual. The guards were happy. They were rested. He gave them a gift while stealing everything they were supposed to protect. A true S-rank isn't just strong, he's a psychological terror. Their previous methods, tracking energy use, identifying physical weak points, finding psychological tells, were useless against Phasma. An S-rank demon doesn't have an Achilles heel. They are the heel. We need a new paradigm, Ren stated, his voice tight. Phasma is moving on the temporal axis. He isn't speeding up, he's slipping between moments. He's a ghost in time. He leaves no trail because his trail is still yesterday or already tomorrow. Kiko, deep in the data, finally found a flicker of hope. The gold. He took $4 billion in physical gold. Even a demon who can bend space and time can't instantly atomize that much mass. He has to have a holding spot, a personal dimension, a pocket reality where he's stashing the loot before moving it permanently. A temporal warehouse, Sora summarized. Yes. And creating a stable pocket dimension, even for an S-rank, leaves a distinct and massive temporal footprint, Kiko explained, pulling up a complex 4D chart. He used the energy of the heist to power the dimension, meaning the footprint is huge. It's radiating outward, slowly. Ren's eyes gleamed with renewed focus. If he used the vault's energy, then the footprint will be strongest where the power source was located. It's a breadcrumb trail made of time. The team followed Kiko's coordinates to an ancient, abandoned hydroelectric dam outside the city. It was a place where time, naturally, flowed differently due to the massive flow of kinetic energy. Perfect for a temporal thief. The dam was a vast, desolate cathedral of concrete and rusting steel. The air was cold, damp, and felt strangely slow. The temporal footprint is overwhelming here, Ren whispered. It's like walking through molasses. Sora immediately began setting up an anchor talisman, a massive, power-consuming sigil designed to stabilize the space around them, preventing them from being thrown into a random point in history. Phasma appeared instantly. He wasn't a monster, he was a tall, elegant figure in a flawless dark suit, holding a massive, antique watch chain. He looked like the CEO of time itself. The little Shikari Squad, Phasma's voice was a low, resonant hum, like the ticking of a grandfather clock. Predictable. You followed the physics, not the magic. I knew you'd find the footprint. He flicked his wrist. The air around Ren and Sora warped, and a barrage of heavy, steel girders that hadn't existed for 50 years, suddenly materialized, aiming for their heads. Ren and Sora ducked. He's pulling objects from the past. Ren yelled, "Stop focusing on the gold." Phasma laughed, a sound like grinding gears. "Focus on your impending oblivion." He snapped his fingers. Sora's anchor talisman, which had just stabilized their moment in time, suddenly reverted to its initial, UN-powered state the moment before she set it. The steel girders from the past rematerialized again, hitting the same spot a second time. He's reversing local causality. Ren realized. He's not just moving time, he's rewinding small moments around his opponents. Ren knew he couldn't fight Phasma with conventional means. Taro was their only hope. Taro. The echo. Don't look for emotion. Look for the paradox. Ren screamed, barely dodging a girder from the dam's future. Taro closed his eyes, taking a deep, shuddering breath. He wasn't reaching out for the psychic residue of fear or joy, he was seeking the tiny tear in the fabric of reality that Phasma's power had to be creating. He felt the temporal flow, a raging river of moments. Phasma was a master swimmer, but even a master cannot swim in two opposite directions at the same time. Taro found it, a microsecond delay, a hesitation in Phasma's own timeline. The S-rank demon was so focused on maintaining the complex, external temporal field that he was ignoring his own internal timeline. Taro yelled the insight at the top of his lungs, "Your watch. The antique watch. You're syncing your own moment to a physical object, the chain. It's a temporal tether." Phasma froze, his face a mask of cold fury and pure shock. Ren saw it too. The watch chain was glowing faintly. It was a beautiful, powerful artifact, but it was also a vulnerability. It was the anchor for the S-rank demon's own timeline. Ren knew he couldn't hit it. Phasma would rewind the moment before he even moved. Kiko. The footprint. Now. Kiko, who had been setting up a massive, high-power server stack near the dam's main conduit, unleashed everything. She wasn't an attacker, she was a disruptor. She didn't aim for Phasma, she aimed for his pocket dimension. Kiko hit the temporal footprint with a powerful surge of raw, UN-filtered electrical energy. It was like throwing a wrench into the gears of time. The air around them didn't just warp, it shrieked. Phasma screamed, a high-pitched, echoing sound that wasn't quite human. His pocket dimension, the temporal warehouse containing $4 billion in gold, was ripped open, momentarily overlaying their reality. For one terrifying second, the chamber was filled with a blinding mountain of gold bars. The sudden, catastrophic shift of mass and time caused Phasma's temporal tether, the antique watch chain, to snap under the paradox. Without his anchor, the S-rank demon's body became a vessel for a chaotic, uncontrolled flow of time. Phasma didn't explode or die. He simply dissolved, his form flickering through centuries, aging to dust and then reverting to a baby, all in the space of a heartbeat. His essence was scattered, not killed, but neutralized and imprisoned within the shattered moments of the surrounding timeline. The gold bars crashed back into their own dimension, the breach sealing instantly. Phasma, the S-rank spectre, was gone. The Grand Vault's gold, while temporarily out of reach in the pocket dimension, was no longer a threat, it was Phasma's problem, now trapped with him in the chaotic temporal sinkhole. The Shikari Squad stood exhausted, covered in dust and the residue of shattered time, in the cold, silent dam. They had started with a B-rank jewel thief, Glimmer, who tried to steal moments from people's minds, and finished by effectively banishing an S-rank demon who could steal entire epochs. Ren, Sora, Kiko, and Taro had faced an escalation that should have crushed a veteran squad, let alone a group of OIA students. They learned that a B-rank criminal relies on flair, an A-rank on skill, but an S-rank demon relies on arrogance, the belief that their power is without flaw. Glimmer had a weakness for energy, Marion had a flaw of fear, and Phasma's downfall was his reliance on a physical anchor to control an abstract concept like time. The OIA doesn't just train students to fight, it teaches them to find the single-minute crack in the foundation of reality that even the strongest demons have to stand on. The city is safe, for now. Do not forget to like this video if you are new here and also subscribe to our channel for more anime stories.